All right, good evening, YouTube. Welcome to episode 13. We'll be going live here in just a few seconds. Got your notes ready? You all set? Who needs notes?
Ready, man.
Yes, we're on USB too. The microphone is all set up. I think we're good to go. All right, 8 o'clock. You ready to go, guys?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yep.
Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number 13 of D&D Sports Chat, coming to you live from the studio here in Garden City, Michigan. It is Wednesday, May 11th, 2016. I am your co-host, Derek, alongside my co-host, as always, every week, Mr. Dan Bartley. Dan, how we doing?
Peachy.
And our co-host, or actually, I should say our special guest on the phone, this is a friend of Danny's who's also a sports buff, Chad, and I do not know how to say your last name for the love of me. You got to help me out with this.
Mezigian.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know it either.
I think I got it wrong,
No,
too.
that's all right.
So how you doing, man? It's nice to have you on the show. I know you and Dan know each other from Schoolcraft, had some classes there together, and it's nice to actually have a guest on the phone. We don't really have many guests on our show, so it's always an honor to bring somebody on that can talk some sports with us.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to talk some sports tonight.
Good to have you. I know that you're the wise one from history class, Mr. 3.7 or something like that. Goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't want to toot his own horn, I guess.
I definitely will toot mine, Mr. 2.0 over here that bombed.
Oh, God. So, as we do every week, Danny usually has a very interesting, sometimes
corny,
and sometimes very extravagant stories to tell us. And he actually called me, what was it, Monday night with this story. It was just pumping out of him. He couldn't contain himself. And it's actually a story that I think would only happen to good old DRB. So, Danny, why don't you go ahead and tell this story? This is pretty hilarious.
All right, well, here we go. I was trying to grab a quick bite with my mom. She wanted chicken nuggets at McDonald's. So we go to McDonald's. I know, don't health nutrition me over there, Mr. Parton.
Yeah.
But
teach their own. Teach their own, whatever.
So she wanted some nuggets, and I was like, all right, well, I'll take a frappe and double cheeseburger, typical Dan meal.
Right.
So we get there, we get to the drive-thru, and then we pull around. My mom wants to park and eat in the car, which, whatever, cool. So we sit there, we're eating, and all of a sudden I glance to the side of where the sidewalk is, right by kind of real close to the grass, and I see this sparkly object, and I'm looking over there. So I had to go out and investigate, because that's me, because I thought it was, silver or gold or something. You never know what you can find. So it was a lady's driver's license and debit card. Yeah, sums it up. So, upon further investigation of this woman, I Googled her.
Yes.
And she is a felon. And she has many accounts of
domestic violence?
Yes.
Okay.
As I told you.
As you said, she was arrested about a year ago in June, I think it was. June 15th of 2015, I think it was.
So, of course, me being the good Samaritan and the good citizen that I am, before I knew all this, I was just going to drive to this person's house and drop it in the mailbox or knock on the door.
Yeah.
Thank the heavens that I did not do this, because I would probably be dead right now.
Well, if you put it in an envelope and you went over there and just kind of did a drop and run, I think that I don't think she would have caught you. Or with your luck, she probably wouldn't even have been home. So
no, or she would have seen me, the fluffy man that I am. She'd be like, "Oh man,"
or she could be on the run. She might not even be at that residence anymore. So, what did you do? You were the good Samaritan. You turned it into the police station. They basically gave you the runaround. I told you that they got way better things to worry about, that they probably would just take it, maybe jot your name down, jot her record down, whatever, and you were on your merry way. And that's basically
what happened. Is
Right.
I went to the police station, and the cop was like, I took my name and information, said I was a good citizen, blah, 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 the whole hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo that they give you. I was like, can I get like a free pass for a ticket for the rest of, one ticket?
Or maybe like
or
$10.
$10, buy my next McDonald's burger or something. But I have a question for you, Chad. In your situation, if this was you, would you have dropped it off to her house?
What would you do?
That's tough. I don't know if I'd have really looked the person up. I guess if I would have known she was a felon, I probably would have done the same thing as you. I would not have taken it to her house or chanced it.
With me, I thought about this for a couple days, and I know that I think, the one that told you, well, you should probably just take it to the police station.
Yeah.
At least get that good Samaritan. There's nothing to you can clear your name and no wrongdoings of your part. Obviously, you're not the kind of person that would go on, Amazon and use her debit card information to just buy a whole bunch of shit.
Oh yeah, I could have went and unloaded for gas.
A lot of
and
people
for
would.
clothes.
And luckily,
and
luckily that somebody like you found it, because judging by where it was, it couldn't have been there for more than a day, because it would have got snatched up.
It would have got snatched up or chomped into a million
It wasn't
pieces
like
when they
it
cut
wasn't
the grass.
hiding. It was literally on the pavement.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like off to the side in the grass. So, a lot of people would have probably put it in an envelope, drove it to her house, dropped it in her mailbox, and ran. But yeah, I think you did the right thing.
Maybe I shouldn't have looked her up at all. But I'm just that guy. I watch too much crime. I watch too much TV, and I see all kinds of people getting murdered and everything else. So I'm like, I'm not going to be the victim. I'm just going to research her, and boom.
You didn't want no bad karma coming back to bite you.
No, and then I feel good. I pat myself on the back.
Oh, yeah.
Gold star for Danny. I feel good about myself.
So did they say they were going to contact you at all, or are you're basically already a clean?
I'm pretty much clean.
Okay.
There's nothing really that can come back and bite me. I didn't go swipe the card or anything, so.
Can't say that's ever happened to me. So again, I say only DRB.
I know. I just must have that persona. I don't know what it is.
I guess so. All right. So moving on from that story, which was again another enticing story, we're going to move into our first segment of the night, which is the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and a lot has happened in a week since our last show. The entire Eastern Conference teams have advanced. The West, 2 Game 7s, including one tonight, Dallas and St. Louis. But let's start off with the East. And right now, I guess you could say that this wasn't really the surprising series. I had the Lightning win this in 6, and they won it in 5. Lightning beat the New York Islanders. Ben Bishop, again, stellar performance. The guy's a beast. What do you take away from this series as far as, was your prediction right? Did you
My prediction was not right.
You actually had the Islanders?
I thought the Islanders would take
Really?
this one.
Was that what did you change your bracket? Because I could have swore you. Well,
I did take Tampa to beat Detroit, obviously.
You were the only one.
And everybody from this show that has connection to this show and also in the box that I do on Monday night also took the Wings because, let's face it, all you guys are homers.
Well, you also were the. Well, I'm never going to let you live this one down. You were the only one also that said we wouldn't make the playoffs. Some would say we deserved it. Some would say we didn't.
Don't get me going again.
Well, let's ask Chad, because we could have this debate all day long. Do you think the Red Wings deserve to make the playoffs?
When all is said and done, when you play 82 games, if you make it, you deserve it in some way. And if you want to say, well, we backed our way in, which we did, I think we deserved it more than Boston that laid an egg at home in their last game. So
that's what and I agree to that. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, we had help from Ottawa, but Boston, they were tailing off just as much as we were. Ottawa was a team that was kind of coming on late. They just ran out of time. I think that they're going to make a strong run next year. Hell, we got to have a Canadian team in the playoffs every year, right?
Oh, Montreal next year.
Montreal will definitely bounce back.
Yeah,
they will bounce back. It's hard to believe what Carey Price really, really means to that team as far as winning is concerned. But going back to this series, though, with Tampa Bay and the Islanders, aside from Ben Bishop, Victor Hedman, again, he had 2 goals in that final game. Kucherov just unbelievable, dominating performance, and he showed it with the Wings. They showed it with the Islanders. Do you think that this series was a little bit more aggressive than the Detroit series, or do you feel like they were both equally the same? Do you feel like who came out more to play? Was it Detroit or the Islanders, even though they were both 5-game series?
You can take this one, Chad.
Tampa made both teams look pretty bad, but I think from a standpoint, the Islanders were probably a little bit more of a physical team than Detroit was.
Right.
They got pushed over.
All throughout this series, I think all 5 games, Detroit showed a lot of aggression, and I guess you could say, a sense of urgency in the first 2 or 3 games, especially when they were dropping the gloves. But I think after, that third or fourth game,
Brian
is when,
Boyle got to Justin Abacare a little bit more than what people think.
Yes,
and then Justin Abacare went to a Justin Bieber concert, which is the shame of all shames.
A day after we got eliminated, I believe that was. Yeah, so he was already a wuss in your book, right, Danny? You kind of just
goodness
put him.
Gracious!
So
going to see Justin Bieber. Come on.
And not even letting 24 hours pass after you get ousted. Like, it's okay, whatever. Right. I guess it's his prerogative, whatever. Our next one just happened last night, which, this busted your bracket, Danny. The Pittsburgh Penguins defeating the heavily favored Washington Capitals.
I think it busted a lot of people's brackets.
A lot of people's brackets. Well, my bracket was already busted with Chicago getting eliminated first round, but I actually had them beating the Capitals for the Cup. So this one, in a way, it could have went either way with both teams. The Capitals, a lot of their top guys did not show up. Braden Holtby was good, but I just think that Matt Murray was a little bit better, a lot better. And a guy that's only, 21 years old, just unbelievable. And Phil Kessel peaking at the right time. Just an amazing performance.
I think that's what it was. It was the fact that there was no secondary help for Ovechkin, and the fact that it wasn't Ovechkin's fault. I know a lot of people look at Ovechkin because he is the captain. He is, the hockey god of the NHL pretty much. And I say that lightly. There's a lot of talented players in the NHL, but Ovechkin's that guy who seems to get a lot of criticism, whether it's deserved or not.
Right.
And this is his team. This is his organization by any stretch of the imagination. But he can't do it all himself. Yes, he's a very skilled player. Holtby the same way. Had a big year. The best year he's going to ever have in his career.
He is. Tied Martin Brodeur and win.
Didn't get a whole lot from Backstrom, from Oshie, and obviously Orpik's suspension, 3-gamer, was just absolutely crucial. I think that has a lot of, not a huge factor, but it does pay to say that he was a factor. And being out of the lineup for 3 games like that with that suspension, and Letang got 1.
Yes.
Which, okay, you can flip a coin whether Orpik deserved 3, because I think the hits were kind of similar in a way, in a facet. The suspensions in hockey just need some touch-ups, in my opinion.
As you talk about, what Washington had that, as far as their reasons for not winning, you got to look over to the Pittsburgh side and look at the 2 biggest names that were non-factors. They weren't the focal points of this series, Malkin and Crosby. Instead, it was the line of Nick Bonino, Carl Hagelin, and Phil Kessel, especially in Game 6. And they scored each of the Penguins 4 goals. Defenseman Trevor Daley, Matt Cullen, Patrick Hornquist. They each played pivotal roles as well at various points throughout the series. So now looking ahead to this upcoming series with Tampa Bay, now I had Tampa Bay winning that series. I have them winning that series. Chad, what are you thinking as far as going forward in this next series coming up against Pittsburgh and Tampa?
When the playoffs started, or when these last 2 this round started and these 2 matchups happened, I was saying that whoever won the Islanders Tampa series was looking to lose in 5 games to the Capitals or Penguins, whoever came out of that one. But Tampa's looked a lot better than I expect them to look without Stamkos and some of those other guys. And I think this could go 6 or 7. I still think Pittsburgh wins, but I think Tampa's going to give them a nice run.
I think between me and you, Derek and I had an off-the-air conversation just before the show kicked off tonight. Derek's going
I'm going Tampa.
Derek's going Tampa.
I'm going Tampa.
And I want to hear the explanation behind this, because I think that Chad and I have the idea on why we think Pittsburgh will defeat the Bolts, but why do you think the Bolts will beat the Pens?
I think
Just curious.
I'm thinking right now, as far as between the pipes experience, I think is going to sort of lean in the way of Tampa Bay. Matt Murray stood on his head in this second round series. Now it's starting. Now the intensity is starting to amp up. I feel like I don't know if he can really replicate what he did in this series, but I also think that when it comes to Crosby and Malkin, I think that they're going to be names that, you could go into this series and be non-factors, but now you're facing a totally different team in Tampa Bay, which has been just really, really aggressive defensively. And I feel like something about that team is going to wear down guys like Bonino and Hagelin and Kessel. I feel like when you get Kucherov out there going up against this line, guys like, Boyle as well, I think that's going to play a big role. I say it's going to probably go 6 or 7.
Hands down, definitely.
There's really the only way, unless both goaltenders don't show up or one of each. I don't know, but I don't know. I got this feeling that Steve Yzerman's not going to quit until he wins a cup in Tampa Bay, and this is I think he has a better shot this year than he did last year, even though they made it to the cup, came up short. But I just feel like they got the pieces that can do it, and it's very this
with
next
or
round,
without Steven Stamkos playing in this series.
Well, look at what happened with Crosby and Malkin. I mean,
Crosby and Malkin were cold, and that is what makes the Penguins even dangerous going into the series.
The presence is different because, of course, Crosby and Malkin were on the ice. Stamkos hasn't been on the ice, but still, I feel like that they can contain that line, and if you can go in there and at least because who has the better record? Pittsburgh, I think it's home ice, right? Is it Pittsburgh or Tampa?
Yeah, Pittsburgh has home ice.
Pittsburgh has home ice. Okay.
I think they had 7 more points or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, if they can at least split that, I mean, if you can go into Pittsburgh and at least split that, and take one of two, or they even have the potential of going in there and winning 2 straight. I mean,
I see it going back 1-1. I don't see either team taking a 2-0 series lead and heading out of town. It's just the series would be very intriguing to watch. I think that even without Steven Stamkos, it will be a very good series. And I know Stralman is actually skating for the Bolts.
That's what I saw too.
It's a very, very good sign that I'm not sure what Stamkos' condition is, and I'm not sure if you really want to rush him in because he might be taking a spot of someone who outplays him. So it's a very interesting scenario that you have to play if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning and John Cooper.
This is going to definitely be the series to watch. So to wrap that up, I'm going to say Tampa Bay in 6, and you guys are obviously both going, what, Pens in 6?
I'm going Pens in 7.
Chad?
Pens in 7.
Okay. Well, we'll see in a couple of weeks what happens. Moving over to the West. Before we get to, obviously, tonight's game, we're going to talk about this really, really aggressive series as far as the Sharks and Predators. Now, these are teams that, as far as experience-wise, you got to give it to the Sharks, but these are both teams that have been snake-bitten before in the second round. The Sharks have been – how many times have they gotten to the second round and not been able to get past it? And the Predators, I think, are just really exceeding all expectations of all the doubters. So tonight's going to be – tomorrow is actually going to be a very, very aggressive game, and I'm going to go with the Sharks just because I think that the experience is going to, I think, rule over this. And – what do you think, Danny?
Sharks have been so – I thought the Sharks could put it away already. I didn't think this series would go as far as it has.
I didn't think it was going to go 7, that's for sure.
I think that the Cat Pavlovsky or whatever it's being called that we talked on in the box on Monday.
That black cat.
I like that. I like the whole – it has nothing to do with hockey. It's just a cool story for the playoffs, the Cat running on the ice, and now it's – a national hero in San Jose.
It's been like their new mascot.
But I'm going to go with, unfortunately, I'm going to go with Nashville. I think Nashville does. I think a Plymouth Whaler alumni has a huge game for Nashville, and that is James Neal. I think James Neal has a big game tomorrow night.
What do you think, Chad?
I'd probably go with Nashville, too, and just in my reasoning, I agree with Dan in that San Jose's had their chances to close this series out, and they just haven't been able to do it. And Nashville's they just don't go away. Every time you think they're out of it, they go on a run in the game, and they get themselves back in and put themselves in position to win a game.
I think, and really, this is a series could go either way, and I agree with you guys too. I mean, they have had plenty of opportunities to close out the Predators as far as the Sharks are concerned. But man, Pekka Rinne, these last couple games, he's really been standing on his head for the Predators, and it's going to be a great game for sure. But so you guys are going to go both picking Nashville.
Yeah, you're the odd man out again.
I feel like you guys are tag teaming up on me. This is now 2 times in a row. But hey, that's the fun of it. Everybody can't agree with everybody. So
this would be crap radio. So
now this one is going to be a doozy because this series has been back and forth since the very first game.
This is what I've been waiting for.
And this is what you've been waiting for, even with a Tyler Sagan-less Dallas Stars team. The Blues, they honestly almost blew this game, Dallas, the last game. They were actually up, 3-0. Blues came back to make it 3-2, and they barely hang on. So, Game 7 tonight, Stars and Blues. I'm going with the Blues in this one. If Steve's listening in, he will like that as well because he is the only one out of our friends that has not had their bracket busted. He actually picked the St. Louis Blues to win it all this year.
And he's looking pretty good right now. I gotta give it to Steve. Yep. At first, when I seen Steve's bracket, I was a little bit like, oh, okay, well, whatever. but he's looking pretty set right now, and I'm the one looking kind of a little bit.
This is going to be the game where both teams are going to be ultimately tested. This is where they will find out, how small the difference is between going on and going home. And Dallas they've looked good. They've looked good. St. Louis equally as good, but at the end of the day,
it's all about what Kerry Lettinen shows up.
What Kerry Lettinen shows up, exactly. And with Brian Elliott as well. I mean, both goaltenders, this is where you look at a Dallas team and think, like, they really don't have the greatest starting goaltending. I think probably wouldn't you say they have the worst starting goaltending of any team in the playoffs? That are currently still in the playoffs, I should say.
I would say yes. But it's very close. I'm not really sold on Martin Jones from the Sharks. I'm not really convinced that he is a number one.
Mm-hmm.
He could be in years to come. Like the book is still open.
Yeah.
On Martin Jones. So it's really, really close, neck and neck between Jones and Lettinen or Niemi, whoever gets
It's definitely not been a series of goaltending because both teams have had bad games. Lettinen and Niemi have both been pulled for Dallas. Brian Elliott, he suffered the same fate in Game 6. So when you come down to it, I mean, it's probably going to be all about your offense and whatever defense can stop whoever's offense is going to be going towards the net. So that's my take on it. Chad, what do you think? What's going to happen tonight?
Yeah, I'll be rooting for the Blues. My bracket, I had the Blues losing to Pittsburgh in the finals, so they'll leave me in good shape there. But I mean, it's like you said, it's been a great offensive series. Goaltending you can't rely on too much, and I think that's the way Dallas has been rolling through these playoffs is because they can score. Their offense is great, and they're just outscoring their opponent. I mean, switching between their two goalies. They just, like you said, they both gotten pulled from select games. And, I mean, they split those guys all season. They both played almost an equal number of games throughout the regular season. So they haven't had a consistent goalie play all season long. So they got to outscore the Blues, and I just don't think they can tonight.
And I think that
Blues defense is good.
Yeah, and I think that would be, honestly, my biggest worry if one of these teams were to make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, whether it be St. Louis, Dallas taking on – if they were to beat Nashville or San Jose, if you take on a team like Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh, who's had some of the hottest goaltending, that would be my only worry, especially for my pick, St. Louis. So with Brian Elliott, obviously, I think I have a little bit more confidence in Brian Elliott than I would with a Kerry Lettinen or Antti Niemi. But, every round, the anticipation, it grows higher, and the aggression, it gets a lot more the mountain gets harder to climb.
Amped up.
It gets much more amped up every single round. But it's like these have been some of the most competitive series. Even though Tampa Bay, they beat the Islanders in 5, that was competitive. Tampa Bay and Detroit for the first few games, it was competitive. So don't let the amount of games in every one of these series dating back to the first round and now this next round, don't let that really fool you because this has been some of the best Stanley Cup playoffs in recent years. And the fact that we're going to have a new champion, that's even better, even though I was pulling for Chicago, or I wasn't really pulling for Chicago. I picked Chicago. But, aside from Pittsburgh.
You're a realist.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like I am.
Yep. But aside from Pittsburgh, I mean, the fact that it's wide open, especially in the West. I mean, aside from Dallas, and I guess you could say St. Louis, I mean, they're both kind of underdogs as far as making it to the big dance. They make the playoffs every year, or pretty often, but it's really wide open right now, and that's what I love about this. I'm all about the underdogs, so
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't mind Nashville, but I'm picking San Jose because I feel like they've been screwed over.
I don't see Nashville making it much further. If they do get past the Sharks, I
don't
see them beating whoever the next
Dallas
opponent is.
Louis,
I don't see them moving forward.
That's a safe bet.
As good as they fly underneath the radar, and that's great.
Right.
As you guys have said, the underdog, it's a great story. You're good to see. You're very happy to see that Chicago's out, Los Angeles is out. All the teams that have won the Cup in recent years, they're all gone. All the favorites are pretty much gone. So it is a very nice tale that we're proceeding with here.
And that's
Cup winner. Sounds good.
And that'll also increase ratings too, television ratings, and of course you can never go wrong with old Doc Emmerich.
Ovechkin's out now, so ratings going to
drop. Doc's great.
He just actually I think won an Emmy again. I think it's his 3rd Emmy for play-by-play.
Is phenomenal. What he can do.
He is my favorite guy on TV out of all the sports.
He really is, and I'm sure you probably remember some of these days back in the late '90s when it was Gary Thorne and Bill Clement on ESPN, and those back in the day, Gary Thorne was my guy. When I used to play the old NHL games. His voice, and now I think he's doing play-by-play for the Baltimore Orioles. But that was a guy that's just his voice was synonymous with hockey, or even just sports in general. But Doc Emmerich he's pretty damn good too, and I'm glad that they were able to contain him because he's always been with I think Fox and NBC and all those major networks. So
yeah, he is got one of those voices where you just absolutely I don't know how you don't like Emmerich.
No, and he's not a homer. He's totally unbiased to whoever scores. It doesn't matter what team's playing, who scores.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he is a Michigan man.
I believe so, too.
I think so.
Yeah. Because I know Darren Pang, who you don't really hear much from, but he used to be, I think, on
I follow him on Twitter. He's an interesting follow.
Yeah, Darren Pang, he went through the ranks with Yzerman, because him and Yzerman, I think, are like best friends. As a matter of fact, I think he was the MC when Yzerman retired his jersey. So, that makes it a hell of a lot more fun and interesting to watch when you can hear old Doc on the mic. It's always a great time. So, boys, we got our Stanley Cup playoff picks for the final of this round, and then, of course, into our next round as well. So, by next week's show, we'll definitely have more of an outlook on who's going to be moving on and who's going to be competing for that cup. So now we'll move on to baseball, and this is the segment that Danny's just been itching to get his hands on.
I'm going to get lots of heat for this.
Going to get lots of heat. But first of all, we'll give a quick little live look in right now. It's still currently 1-1, bottom of the fifth inning against
What's
the
the
Tigers.
strikeout count for Max Scherzer?
Well, right now I'm looking at Jordan Zimmerman's. He's gone 5 innings. He struck out 2, 68 pitches, 44 which have been strikes. I don't actually have with this app I'm using. I actually cannot look at Scherzer's. Do you got that one on there, Chad? Have you been watching the game live?
Yeah, hold on, I got it for you coming up. He's got 11 strikeouts, now. 5 1/3.
Oh my God! And you can almost
I called it. I told you 10 or more before the show started.
Yep.
Oh man, I hate to brag here.
Well, these are both pitchers that are going against their former teams. Obviously, Max Scherzer, he's had quite a few years in a Detroit Tigers uniform, and he knows exactly everybody on this team, aside from probably Justin Upton. But I think everybody, he knows the style, how they hit, what they lay off, what they will swing at, and he's making the most of it. And Jose Iglesias, another name that's very funny that you said that. You mentioned a name
my
in
Facebook
Bartolo.
post today.
Bartolo Colon has more home runs than Jose Iglesias and Tyler Collins. And what do you know? Jose hits a dinger in the first pitch.
He's seen
in the
me.
third inning. He did.
Must
He
have
heard
read
you.
my post
He heard you.
Yeah. So you're welcome, Jose Iglesias.
But as far as this team is concerned, 15-17 record. A week ago, I look back at our last week's show, and we were talking about how well the Tigers were on. They were on a winning streak. I think they'd won 4 in a row, and we were saying, hey, is this going to keep up? Are we going to be able to actually keep this long-term success up? And now, 1 week later, look at what's happened. We went on a 7-game losing streak, and we almost actually blew it last night. Thank God for K-Rod, but we made it interesting for sure. The bullpen.
K-Rod comes out, you bite your nails.
I was talking to Steve last night, and he made an interesting point that the starting pitching, aside from probably Mike Pelfrey, but even his last start was decent. Starting pitching's not been too bad. It's been the offense.
You're kidding me.
The starting pitching, you think that they've actually been terrible? I wouldn't say terrible, but they haven't been too
Been
bad.
inconsistent.
Very inconsistent. You can't go.
At least.
You can't get over the 6th inning. Can't.
That's the thing.
You cannot. You got to go. The bullpen is, yes, it's improved, but if you keep running these guys out at the rate that they're going out now, that Ausmus keeps just throwing them at will, you're going to burn these guys out by July. And then where are you at? And then you have Mike Pelfrey, and that's why you recalled Daniel Norris today. Daniel Norris has been recalled.
Tyler Collins, bye-bye.
I don't think Pelfrey's going to be a starter much longer. I think he's going to move to the pen.
I think that's probably your best bet is Pelfrey. That whole experiment where you threw a boatload of money at him, oh, that's a great sign.
But is Daniel Norris ready to be the 5th starter again? Is he necessarily healthy enough? Can you rely on him after his recent injury?
I think he'll start in the pen, but I think he'll get his opportunity to start in the near future. Just because Pelfrey hasn't done much, so Norris can't be too much worse.
Fulmer got absolutely lit up too against Cleveland.
Well,
everyone gets lit up against Cleveland. We make them look like they're the best team in baseball.
Yeah, it's been like that. It's been like that for years, so that's nothing new. But going to tonight's game, we talked about this pre-show, and I actually didn't know this until you informed me.
But strikeout.
Oh, there's number 12. Sitting Nick Castellanos, the hottest hitter in the American League, if not baseball, batting a cool .378 before tonight's game.
Not number 1, but close.
No, and he's near the top. And the fact that you're going to sit him because of the fact that you want to play V-Mart in this game, who's also a hot hitter. He was sitting above 320. You're moving Miggy to third. You're putting V-Mart at first, both who have not played these positions probably, in the last year or so?
It's been a while. And V-Mart is...
can barely move.
V-Mart is like an old-timer. He's like that beer league, D-League player that's in his 40s that can barely hack it.
And I completely agreed with you in the sense of sitting a guy like Justin Upton, who I know we're paying a boatload of money for. left fielder. You sit him. You move Nick back to where he started back in the minors at left field. Again, he's not played that much.
This is you're taking the words out of my mouth for the pre-show here, because I gave you all this, I threw all this at you.
Well, this makes sense.
And the thing is I get it. What I was saying earlier today, I was very frustrated when the lineups were announced, and Nick Castellanos, the guy is red hot. I just have a very hard time taking
realistically,
him out of the lineup.
we know it probably will not last that long or the whole season. This is
absolutely not.
It is Nick Castellanos. It's a great story. It's kind of like the Trevor Story deal from earlier in the season. It's very similar.
He's still racking it up.
He is. He's still racking it up. Back-to-back games hitting 2-run bombs. But until he does cool off, you cannot sit a guy. It's going to kill his momentum now, in my opinion. That
I'm
means
scared of that also.
And that's Brad Asmus at his best.
So when he goes out tomorrow in Baltimore and he goes 0 for 4,
who do you put the blame on?
Then what are you going to do?
It's all on Brad Asmus.
Now, he's a young guy, and the mojo's flowing. He's feeling good at the plate. He's feeling good. He's got a little swag to him. I notice it. I like it. You take him out of the lineup, you got a guy sitting, and he's going, well, Brad, I just looked at the MLB.com page, and I'm leading the league in hitting. And you got me sitting. And yes, it is Max Scherzer, and yes, he's got a boatload of strikeouts tonight.
But you have
Would
no
Nick
idea.
Castellanos have 1 or 2? Probably.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is,
but the chances of getting a hit are pretty damn high with how hot he's been.
But if you're trying to get your ass fired, this is what you do. You sit the best hitter in the American League, and that's what you're doing. And I've been holding this back.
He's not helping his case at all. He's not helping his case.
It's just, and I get it. This is not all Brett Ausmus's fault.
No.
While his team is struggling.
But then again, you got a guy like Justin Upton who's yet to reach double-digit RBIs. He's already struck out an astonishing 51 times. Danny, I know you're reeling because you've already made the bold prediction that he would have over 200 strikeouts this year. His .220 batting average is third lowest on the team amongst guys like Ghost and Saltalamacchia, being the only players hitting worse. But like I said, when you got a $22 million a year investment who's off to a terrible start, he could use a few days off. And I'm talking about a guy like Miguel Cabrera.
Who had a rough slide into second base the other night. Probably tweaked his ankle a little bit.
That didn't look too
You're
good.
not going to hear him complain, but why not? I get it. What he's done for this franchise and what he is to Major League Baseball. And Miguel Cabrera, that I'm not going to open that can of worms just yet, but he did tweak his ankle. He is struggling a little bit. Nick Castellanos is red hot. Victor Martinez is batting, I think he's 4th or 5th in the American League for average.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 336.
336. That's updated, yeah.
You play your best players. You need to win games. The Tigers are struggling mightily. You don't sit Nick Castellanos.
I mean, honestly, a guy like Ausmus needs like either therapy or he needs somebody just to kind of point him in the right direction. It's like a blind man, it's like the dog walking the blind man. Now, if Upton was delegated to a bench role for the entire National Series, I don't think anyone would have questioned the move. Using the same argument for moving Cabrera to third and Castellanos to left field for a few games means sacrificing some defense and then, of course, replacing your weakest bat with your strongest. Now, for all those fans like us that want Brad Ausmus fired, you will point to today as probably one of his biggest mistakes if the Tigers lose today. Now, if Upton goes 3 for 4 and Castellanos comes off the bench and gets a hit, this will probably all be forgotten. But sitting Castellanos is definitely a bold move, and it's Brad Ausmus's job on the line, and we will wait and see if this pays off. So, as of right now, Chad, you're watching live. What has Cabrera and Upton done tonight?
Well, Upton is 0 for 2 with 1 strikeout, and Cabrera's 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. He's going to lead off the next inning when they get to the top of the 7th. Cabrera will.
So, we still got a few more innings to go here, but it's not looking like this was the greatest move by Mr. Asmus.
Well, Chad, okay, now I just rambled on for a second. I'm curious. Now, put this in perspective for me in your own insights. Am I just too much for one game, or do I have a valid point, or am I just barking up the wrong tree a little bit here?
No, I think you have a valid point because I was actually talking about it with someone yesterday that I would play if you weren't going to move Castellanos into the outfield and sit Upton, I would have sat Cabrera again. He's struggling. Castellanos is hot and V-Mart's hot. I don't want to sit Victor because he's the only one hitting consistently, and Castellanos is the hottest bat in the lineup. I didn't want to take him out at all. So I would have sat Miggy today and used him in a pinch hitting situation when you're ready to take Zimmerman out.
Now, I told Danny too, Chad, before the show started that one of my reasonings behind Nick Castellanos being benched as opposed to Justin Upton is because of the money difference. You got to look at stats, but at the end of the day, you got one guy making $22 million, another guy making about $500,000.
Oh yeah, that always has
That's-
something to do with it.
it
also.
does.
That has a big
Politics
question.
politics always they always rule statistics, and that's I think that was partially I think part of the reason why Nick Castellanos was benched tonight. So
And Brad Ausmus did say before they headed into Washington D.C. that he did want to give 3 days off, one guy each day.
so we're gonna be seeing a day.
And I don't know
coming
when
for
Castellanos' last day off really was.
Oh no,
So I have
he's
to
a
look
power
that up,
horse.
but he's young.
He's definitely
He's
a power
young,
horse.
and Ausmus takes him out in the 7th or 8th inning for a defensive replacement because he doesn't trust him at third base.
Yeah.
I've taken note of that as well. He doesn't trust Castellanos quite yet at third base, but now Ausmus is going to be having to leave him in there because
Right.
just imagine if he yanks Castellanos in the 7th or 8th inning, the team that the Tigers are opposing that night comes back, ties it, Castellanos' bat comes in lineup, and he's hitting the way he is now, and you got Andrew Romine at the dish instead of
God.
Nick Castellanos. How many people
That
are
was a
going to
hell
be
of a
calling
throw.
for
I'll
his
give
head?
Romine his props, though. I mean, as far as a 5-tool player, whatever you want to call him, I mean, he did make a pretty damn good defensive play that kind of
Don
saved
Kelly 2.0?
Yeah, saved the game for us last night. That was a hell of a throw there from the relay. So I'll give Romine his dues there, but off the bench, he's nothing more than a C-minus player.
All right.
It is what it is with the Tigers right now, but there's no quick fix. Even if Brett Ausmus, and this is what I've tried to put it in perspective for my own personal well-being, is that even if Ausmus does get canned and the Tigers wave the magic Harry Potter wand and say, "Expectro, fix us," it's not going to happen. It's just not going to magically Leland can fix this team. I don't think that's going to be a factor.
Right.
Or Tigers bench coach, Gene Lamont, whoever it might be, if Ausmus does get canned, hire within, or you go outside the box and maybe you call Ron Gardenhire, even though he's
The best available.
He's an assistant with the Twins, I do believe.
Right.
He does something with the Twins, nothing major, but you'd have to pull him away from that gig. But if Ausmus gets fired, what's next? Derek, Chad, go for it.
Really, we've been talking about this, and I think before the season ended, we all, I think, agreed that if the Tigers were out of contention come All-Star break, then Ausmus's job's done. I at this point now, seeing the struggles, players not wanting to play for him, I don't see him lasting until even July 31st, and that was a date that we talked about, Danny, before the show. But before we'll go off on your little tangent that you wanted to talk about, let's hear Chad's opinion on Ausmus.
Yeah. I mean, starting pitching hurts, and I mean he can't do anything really about that. If your guy can't perform, that's tough. But he does. Late game decisions have hurt us, and he's lost us a couple of games with that, and that's the problem. If we're struggling, and then you have to worry about the decision he's going to make. You know, I'm not a big fan of him. I was kind of hoping we'd look for someone this past off season to bring in. I wasn't mad that we gave him another chance, but I wouldn't have minded seeing another guy come in.
I think, yeah.
But there's McClendon down in Toledo that I think they'll bring up. I think he'll be the number one candidate if they can Ausmus.
I think a lot of people were also jumping the gun, such as myself, that after the season was ended, after the Tigers missed the playoffs last season, I think there was a lot of talk going around that Ausmus was going to get fired at the season's end. Remember, I unfollowed him on Twitter, and Steve gave me a bunch of rap for that because I think I said something in the lines of like, you know, adios, you know, mother effer or whatever, and you know, and then I think he screenshot that, or somebody did. Either it was Steve or Chris that screenshot it and said, "Oh yeah, remember this, Derek, when you thought Ausmus was getting fired?" I was like, "Yep, sure do." And I think it's kind of in a similar situation as like the Caldwell situation with the Lions. I mean, this is now his third season, and that's a whole other mess over there with the Lions. But you kind of got to give Ausmus a fair chance, just like Caldwell, because both in their first seasons they make the playoffs. Second seasons are a bust. You want to kind of prove that the third year is not a bust as well. You want to kind of be given that fair chance. All right, you're 500. Here's your chance now to kind of prove that that your year before was a fluke. You know, so. At the rate they're going right now, we still got a lot of baseball.
There is a lot
to
of
play.
baseball,
and you know we haven't even hit the summer months yet, where teams really start to heat up and the offense starts heating up. And with this team that's so awesome on paper, it's hard to believe guys like JD and Victor. Well, Victor's hot already, but guys like JD and Miguel will start to kind of get out of their funks, and it's only a matter of time. But speaking of Miguel Cabrera, Danny, I think it's now time for you to go on your tirade that you've been hyping all afternoon.
It's not a tirade. It's just something that's going to get me a lot of hate mail.
Yeah.
because
to some it's realistic. To some you're like, what the hell are you talking
to
about?
me, it's just best
for business, the old WWE
Not
term.
to say a WWE term. July 31st rolls around.
Trade deadline.
Trade deadline for all of you living in a box.
Oh, boy.
You're out of it. You're in the basement of the AL Central. Team's falling apart.
What kind of moves could the Tigers make here?
You send out a flyer with Miguel Cabrera's face on it and say, he's available, but you owe us a lot because, yes, he is 33 years of age,
Yep.
but guess
Declining
what?
stats.
He is declining,
Yep.
and I got the stats right in front
There
of me.
you do.
Now, am I that crazy guy, or am I that realist that says Miguel Cabrera can do a lot for a team, but his time in Detroit has been great, Triple Crowns, many
Batting
great
titles,
memories.
AL MVP, the list
Amazing
goes on.
guy.
Yes.
Great clubhouse guy, but his peak years are over.
They're behind him.
Miguel Cabrera's best time is gone.
Just like Justin Verlander.
But others in the Major League Baseball community don't see it as that such yet.
No, they see
So
the name.
why not see what you can get?
Ship him to a
Take an
contender.
offer,
Yep.
send him to a team that's a contender, and the price is going to be high. You're going to get some Major League talent
three
back,
guys at
and you're
least.
probably going to
Yep,
get their top
yep,
prospect as well.
Yep.
The Tigers need a lot. This team, I don't think, is a World Series contender the next couple of years. The age is a problem with the Tigers. You have aging people. You have a lot of aging talent. You have a lot of big,
Overrated contracts.
You have huge contracts
Yes.
with Verlander, with Cabrera, so on and so forth, with V-Mart, and you shed Cabrera. And yes, I'm a big fan of Cabrera. I'll be the first to admit it. He is my Tiger. I really like Cabrera.
He is this team. He's the
but
face of
it is best for business
Yes.
to take an option and look at trading Cabrera. The numbers are going to decline year in and year out. So am I that crazy, stupid guy that wants to get rid of Cabrera? No, I don't want to get rid of Cabrera. I want to see this team succeed in the next couple years. That is my whole purpose on this.
When you told me this before the show, I kind of had to swallow hard. But after digesting that, I thought about it, and yeah, I like the term what you say, best for business. For looking out for this team's future, the future's not looking bright if we do keep Miguel Cabrera on this team because, unfortunately, yeah, with the stats decline, same as Victor. We signed with that monster contract. I believe we still have him for another 5 years, 4 or 5 years. We're going to have Victor well into when he's in
Victor's 40.
Yeah, he's going to be 40. Miguel Cabrera's going to be 40. And
He's going to have the walker going to first base.
We're not going to be seeing the ageless wonders out here. I mean, V-Mart, you can DH guys like V-Mart or and Miguel, but in a long-term role, I feel like it's obviously not realistic. The Tigers are probably more than likely not going to do it, but
Absolutely not.
I like looking out for the future.
If you're really wanting to build a successful team, you see what's out there. You see what people will give you for Cabrera. Yes, it's going to hurt.
You're
going
to
to
get a lot of hate, man. That Twitter, social media will blow up when that happens.
Absolutely.
Whoever he goes to.
But you got to think in the bright spot. What the return will be for Miguel Cabrera. Look at what you got for Cespedes and Price and so on and so forth.
It's definitely a love-hate decision because the Tigers fan in me would say, "Oh my God, no, you're freaking crazy." We're gonna hang his jersey at Comerica Park. We're gonna retire his jersey in 5-6 years.
And you definitely will. Cooperstown.
Yes, Cooperstown, first ballot Hall of Famer. But at the same time, I look ahead and I'm like, yeah, you make some decent points about the future of this team, what we really need. And then you got to look and say, we always been talking, what Detroit sports team is going to win a championship first, the Red Wings or the Tigers? For the longest time, we were thinking the Tigers because they were knocking on heaven's door. And now with the debacle that this team is in, they're really no worse shape off than the Red Wings. So if you want to win that World Series title within the next 2 to 3 years, it would be a decent move. But the realist in me saying it's not going to happen. Chad, what do you think?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'd have to see what we're getting, obviously.
Yes.
Because being in the American League, you can DH a guy for a long time.
Yeah, you can.
Kind of like we are doing with Victor. But here's what when I was talking about it the other day. When we had Dombrowski, we had the same problem, our bullpen. We could hit. Our starting pitchers would go 7 innings.
Yep.
But teams knew if they could be within 2 or 3 runs in those last couple innings, they were going to win that game.
Yes.
Now, we waited so long, and Avila comes in. He addresses the bullpen problem, but look at all our starting pitchers. We got Zimmerman, but Verlander, and Sanchez, they're not what they were.
No.
They're a shell of what they were. Verlander's looking a little bit better, but he's
hit
never
or
going to
miss.
be what he was 4 years ago.
He's hit or miss.
And we waited too long.
Yep, we could have shipped Verlander off probably 2 or 3 years ago when his stats started
no
to
one's
decline.
taking that
But nobody
contract.
wanted that
No.
contract,
No.
and that is the problem. We have at least a good 3 or 4 very overrated contracts, monster contracts with guys that are in their early to mid 30s that no team wants to touch, no matter if you're rebuilding, what the case may be. But in my opinion, I really thought that at the end of last year, Justin Verlander was going to be a 15-win pitcher again because of what his mechanics. He was working on velocity, the speed. Obviously, you're not going to see the fireballer Justin Verlander, but his control had improved. He definitely was looking promising in spring training, which is a whole other level. Obviously, I know how you feel, Danny, about spring training, but he was looking better, and I really thought it was going to carry over into 2016, but. He's been hit or miss. He's had some outings where he's looked strong through 6. And
But don't worry, he's engaged now, so he can focus only on baseball.
Yeah, that's a whole nother, thing in the back of his mind. And I think
he's thinking about Kate Upton riding the horse he's at the Kentucky Derby.
And it's gonna be a distraction. I really think.
Yeah, I just said that.
Now, Anibal Sanchez, that's a whole nother problem. Now, last year we saw that this was supposed to be the redemption year for Anibal. Last year with the injuries plaguing his season, and he really tailed off, and this year has just been crazy. I've been to 2 games where Anibal has pitched, and he has lost both games.
Man.
That's another guy I can't trust. I mean, he used to be a strikeout and ground ball pitcher.
The mechanics, he just can't find the right mechanics.
No.
Not at all.
He's getting lit up, man.
I don't know if that's Doobie's getting in his head saying, okay, you're going to do this, or go back to your old self, switch it up again. But he's all out of whack right now. But his stuff, what did he strike out 9 and walk 6 that one start?
Yeah,
Unbelievable
very
numbers.
inconsistent.
It was just like, what is this?
You can't. I mean, imagine if he would have thrown a no hitter with those numbers.
Goodness.
9 strikeouts, 7 walks, or something like that. Like
Right.
it would look so lopsided. But again, still early in the season. We've said this for the last 2 or 3 weeks since talking baseball again on our show. Is that wake me up when July rolls around, when post All-Star break, or even at the All-Star break, where this team is at, where the stats lie, and especially guys like JD, who's my guy. I've been a JD guy since he came over from Houston, and everybody was like, "Who the hell is JD Martinez?" And I had his back because I saw what he was doing over there. He was a hell of a prospect in Houston. So.
Yeah, we got a steal.
They got a steal. Oh my
Absolutely.
God, it was like a bag of balls or something for him. So with JD. I think he's now down. He was batting like in the high 290s just a week ago, and now I think he's batting like 220 or something. So
230 for JD Martinez.
what's JD doing tonight, Chad?
Check.
I know he struck out twice.
Yeah, he was one of the early strikeout opponents for old Max Scherzer. I know that.
Right. I think he's 0 for 3, struck out 3 times.
Oh my God, got the trifecta going. So yeah, there's
Everyone's having a
something.
rough night.
Got
There's
33 strikeouts on the year now.
That's probably second on the team next to Upton, right? Very close.
Yeah, I think Upton's at 2.
Yes. So JD has obviously not seen the ball. There's something going on there. I don't know if it's. I mean, you hate to bring in like personal issues. I don't think it's
35 strikeouts for Anthony Ghost.
Anthony Ghost, and that's a guy too that's just
He is a ghost.
He is. He's ghost in the outfield. And he's a ghost at the plate too. But he's another guy that's like, I don't even know who to compare him to. Maybe a Don Kelly, if you want to say that. That he's a guy that's probably mediocre outfielder at best. At the same time, though, he can hit you some big hits when it probably doesn't even call for it. But yeah, Anthony Ghost. But then again, you can't even rely on a guy like Cameron Maybin. When are we going to see Cameron Maybin in a Tigers uniform?
He's in Toledo
He's
right
getting
now.
hurt. Every time he gets close, he gets hurt again.
Cameron Maybin is the epitome of.
He's DHing in Toledo. DH every night in Toledo. That's I've checked the box scores for Toledo, and all he's been doing is DH.
It makes you laugh that Cameron Maybin was a very historical part 8 years ago in that massive Miguel Cabrera deal, and now we got him back 8 years later.
Right.
And he's not much better. So I don't know, man. This is a team that is very, very hot and cold. The offense has definitely been lacking. Thank God for our 2 best players on this team right now in Jordan Zimmerman and Nick Castellanos, but you gotta have more
here's
than that.
the thing with that is both those guys are going to start tailing
They
off.
are. It's not going to keep up. Be realistic here.
Castellanos will keep I think his home run number will be high, but his average will tally off to like
Yeah,
270
I think
or a little lower than that.
We're going to see probably 20 home runs out of Nick this year, obviously. But yeah, I mean, if he can end the year, hitting around 270, 280 with 20 home runs, 70, 80 RBIs, I think that's a very successful year for a guy like Nick, who came into this year with low expectations to begin with. Nobody expected even this to come from him. So,
I got two things for you guys. One,
Go for it.
Daniel Norris is warming up in the bullpen currently. And then two, I just want to say that JV's been inconsistent, but I do want to see what he does after this start, because his last start, he shut them down. Obviously, our bullpen gave up his two-run lead with 2 innings left. And that's why I don't wins and losses, they matter, but I don't look at them too much for a starting pitcher, because we gave up 6 runs in 2 innings when Verlander was winning or up 2-0, and he just didn't get run support. But just worth noting, that was his 7th start, and last year, after his first 6 starts, the rest of the way he had a 2.27 ERA and a .95 WHIP. So I'm really interested to see how he builds in his next couple starts.
Yeah, I think that as the summer months start to come out and you get into the month of June and July, I think that's when you're going to see the best of Justin Verlander, and you're going to see kind of Zimmerman come back to life a little bit. I don't think Zimmerman's going to absolutely tank, and I think Verlander is going to get the velocity will come up summer months. I think that he says that he's almost there. He's starting to feel
his
good.
Control looked a lot better last night, or his last start, and he also hit 96 once or twice, and that's the fastest he's been in a while. So
the velocity is increasing.
It is.
Now the big thing for Justin Verlander is his secondary pitches.
Yes.
I think that is another key thing for Verlander.
That dangerous
And
changeup and curveball.
please, just scratch him if the Tigers start in Cleveland again.
We definitely need some redemption, because that was an entire rough week. I believe that was also the same week that the Pistons were swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland raped us in the ass that week. So, yeah, that was a really bad week to be a Detroit fan. But hell, Cleveland just had our number. They're rolling in here soon, aren't they? Or are we going to Cleveland? That series is coming up next, I believe, right?
I know the Tigers.
It's like Baltimore next.
Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore's next. Yep.
Good to see Adam Jones.
Yeah, Adam.
Manny
Batting
Machado.
like 220.
Yeah, Adam Jones struggling a little bit. And you got Manny Machado at third base. He's a pretty good player.
He's hot.
So the Tigers will have their hands full next couple.
That's a 4-game series.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Tigers get some at-bats.
Mike Pelfrey kicking off the 4-game series against Ubaldo Jimenez.
Oh, yeah.
That should be
That
interesting.
sounds
Chalk
like
that one up as an L.
Chalk that one up as a slugfest machine there.
Supposed to score 8 runs. That's going to be an L.
A lot of guys, though, that are hitting they've only had 4 and 5 at bats, but a lot of guys dinging off of Mike Pelfrey. Chris Davis batting .335. Adam Jones is batting a cool .506 at bats. Manny Machado .333. Mark Trumbo .510 at bats. So yeah, it's going to be a very.
I know Baltimore's first in their division, so
Yeah.
I don't know where they match up in the top of the conference, but I know they're up there.
Baltimore started off red hot, and they've kind of tailed a little bit.
Yeah.
With Jones going down, he had a little bit of a nagging injury. So and then he's come back. He hasn't been to his self yet, but he's more of a second half player.
Yeah, he is.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the second half. But Baltimore's a team that can be dangerous if they get some decent starting pitching. As far as their bullpen's good with Britton in the back end and also O'Day.
Right.
So their bullpen is really solid. So if you get some 6-7 innings out of them, they're a pretty good team, and you got to watch out for them. But Chad, I know we're coming to a close here with the baseball segment. Got to get your take, because we didn't get to chat. Derek and I have chatted about this a couple times. But what'd you give the Lions for an overall draft grade?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't flashy, but it's the draft they needed. I was happy with it. I gave them a B.
Okay.
B plus, somewhere in there.
I gave him a B+.
What was your
Overall.
guys' grades?
I think we all gave him a B, actually. I think I gave him a B minus. The monster that they took in the second round looks like he's
He could scare away
Goodness.
the bar bouncers.
I'm just
He's
gonna
only
say
21.
that.
Yeah, I really love their first 3, actually their first 4 picks. I think Gaskoff from Michigan can go in there and really compete for a starting job with Swanson, and then that safety, if he doesn't get on the field on defense, he's going to be a great special teamer. He's going to kill people on punt and kick return.
Ashawn's going to be dangerous, man. And I
he
really
just
think
looks like he's goodness.
to
gives
really
me nightmares.
our defensive line was just one of the biggest concerns, and I think that they had the potential. They had the potential to be great. I think they could be one of the top defensive lines in all of the league. injuries are going to be the biggest concern for this team this year.
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Glassford is going to be another question mark. I was listening to what was it, Gator?
Carson Anderson?
Carson Anderson. I couldn't think of their name.
Why are you listening to that garbage?
Well, I just happened to be on the road at the time, and I was listening to him, and I know that Gator was really sucking off the defensive line.
Oh, of course he is.
Saying how, it could be one of those years where they have the potential. They're good right now, but they have the potential to be great.
And they haven't even stepped on the field yet. So
I think they'll be a solid unit. I think in a couple of years they'll be closer to great, just when those rookies mature. I like Zettel from Penn State. He's very versatile. And then Robbins from their second-round pick. And I really, obviously Ziggy is great. And then I think Devin Taylor's going to be a pretty good player, too, at the other end position.
Were you
I really
thrilled
like
with
his,
Rudock?
he had a good season last year.
Goodness.
I think it'll only get better.
What about Rudock for you? I got to ask it. Because I just shake my head. I don't know.
Rudock,
he's physically not ready, but mentally, I think he's smart. He'll get it, and I think he's a serviceable backup. If Stafford went down in a game and he needs to finish a game, he can go out there, throw short and intermediate passes. I think he can be the backup. I'm tired of Dan Orlovsky. I don't want to see him anymore.
Oh, my God.
Rudock needs to get bigger, physically all the way around, and I don't think he'll ever be a starter in this league. But I think he can be a decent backup, and I don't think he'll be here forever. But I think we can have him for a couple of years, and he'll be all right. But he's not going to be like a guy that ever takes Stafford's job or anything like that.
What's your expectations for the Calvin Johnson replacement in Marvin Jones, as far as splitting the duties with Golden Tate at front wide receiver?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, no one's going to play like Calvin has, at least on this roster. Calvin was once in a very few that come around. Big tight end size with 4.3 speed, so it's hard to match that up. But here's what I say. I think Marvin Jones will be good, and I think he'll do what he needs to do. We're not going to get that double team like we did with Calvin, even a triple team sometimes. So Stafford's going to have to work, but I think this might benefit Stafford because he's not going to have that, I'm just going to toss it up 50 yards if I don't find an open guy. He's going to have to go through his progressions, and I like Jim Bob Cooter's offense. Stafford looked good in the second half of last year, and I think Stafford, or that offense, it's going to have a better line. He's going to have better protection because he's been sacked like the second or third most times in the last 2 years out of all the quarterbacks. And he needs to get a run game, and I think we'll have that for him this year. I like Abdullah.
Stephen Ridley.
I like Zach Zenner.
What about Stephen Ridley? Is he going to be getting any snaps?
I don't even know if Ridley will be on this roster.
That's what I'm thinking. It's all going to come down to what happens in preseason because, man, Stephen Ridley, I like that. I like him because he played for my Patriots. So, of
course you do.
Of course, back in the day, he was their only shining spot at running back.
They're
not a running team by any means, but Stephen Ridley, he's still a young guy. And the fact that he's 27 years old and he's potentially going to be a third string to guys like Zach Zenner and, Emilio Abdullah is kind of crazy, but.
I know we didn't see Zach Zenner a lot last year, and we only got a small portion, but I just love the way he runs. He's a tough runner. He goes north and south. He doesn't dance. He just puts his shoulder down and runs through people. And he's really the only power back we have right now. Stephen Ridley has some power, but I think Zenner has more. The only way I really see Ridley making this roster, they might have him over Zenner, and Zenner might be a practice squad, but maybe they move Theo Riddick out the slot for his primary position because he played that in college for 2 years before he went to running back. Because I think Abdullah's going to get the most carries out of this group. You got to find out what you have with him.
You do
this year.
You do.
So
second round pick, you can't just throw him out. So you got to give him 250 carries this year and see what he does.
So final outcome for our Detroit Lions in the 2016 season.
It was so early, but
I know. You
want to bring it.
But now that our draft, because we were talking about this weeks before the draft, and we're like, let's see how the draft goes. They had a solid draft, definitely helped this team defensively, offensively. I think they're worse off this year than they were last year offensively, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Obviously, you lose Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
Yeah, you lose a lot in Calvin, but if Ebron can take the step, he wasn't great last year, but he's a lot better than his rookie year. If he can take another step like that, he'll be at least serviceable in this offense.
A lot of guys are going to be stepping up a whole another notch because of Calvin's departure, so especially on the offense. But, God, every year you kind of have to switch back and forth between 8 to 10 wins. I'll say 9. Another mediocre Lions season. Probably second.
I'm going to say 8 and 8. But does 8 and 8 get you in the playoffs
no,
this year?
not in the NFC. I don't think it will. We'll see, though. I mean, I've seen worse.
It's tough. Our schedule's favorable.
It is very favorable.
In terms of, like, our out-of-division play.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I still think Minnesota and Green Bay are better than us, so
Absolutely.
It'll be tough.
But I mean,
I think we'll be right around 8 wins, maybe 9. It's tough.
Kicking off the season on 9/11 at Indianapolis, that's going to be tough. Titans, that's a very winnable game. You're probably going to take 1 out of 2 against the Packers. We saw what happened at Lambeau last year, and in that long drought. The Bears, you never know what you're going to get with them, but
you beat them 6 straight times.
Yeah, exactly. And playing
set a franchise record.
Yep.
We beat them for the 6th time in a row.
Playing the Vikings on Thanksgiving this year.
I think we can win that one. We play well on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
We just always do the last couple of years. We beat Green Bay 4-10 that one a couple of years ago on
I want to see Matthew Stafford get the golden gizzard or whatever that is.
Oh, God.
And Aaron Andrews present it to him.
Yeah, really.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm really excited about our defense. I think our defense is pretty dangerous this year.
That was, I think, the main reason why the draft was so good is because our defense, we went from, decent from good to the potential to be great. Like I said, with the injuries, if they can stay away, I think we have a very power-hungry defense.
Well, yeah, if Levy plays a full season, the defense is 10 times better. Tier White, that's going to be fine at middle linebacker. He filled in for Tulloch in 2014 when our defense was great. So,
all right,
Glover Quinn's a really good free safety. Darius Slade's the lockdown corner. He's in my opinion, he's top 5 in the NFL right now. So it'll be how Lawson does on the other side.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go 9-7. Danny, you're going 8-8, and Chad, what are you gonna go?
I'll go 9-7. It's really gonna depend on how if this defense can keep them in games, anything can happen. So.
Yeah. Well, just don't go 4-0 because the last time the Lions went 4-0 in preseason was that dreaded 2008 season, that 0-16 season.
No.
Yeah, I don't think we're that bad. No. That was a bad roster.
Yeah, it was.
Lions are not going undefeated or lose defeated.
So we said that we were going to close out tonight's with a little bit of. Now I don't know, Chad, if you're a wrestling fan or not. Danny and I, some weeks we'll talk, heavy wrestling, but nowadays after WrestleMania is over, we don't really talk much wrestling. But we have a little extra time here. So, did you want to hang out for the small little wrestling segment that we do?
Yeah, I can. I watch it every now and then, so I kind of know what's going on.
So lately, they just had a few days ago a major budget cut of talent roster released. And 8 names were released, including a very favorable name that hasn't been used on TV lately, and Mr. Damian Sandow. This was a guy that just a year ago was probably arguably one of the most over talents in the entire organization.
He wasn't supposed to be,
and
so he got buried.
He got buried. I think that was just a case of Vince not really liking his style or his character, or whatever the case may be, but he was with The Miz as his stand-in, whatever you want to call him, and he was just absolutely over. I believe he won the Intercontinental Championship.
He was very over.
He was.
They didn't know what to do because they
panicked. They panicked. Kind of like with the Zack. They kind of gave him the Zack Ryder treatment.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really know what they had. They didn't know how to contain his character and how to make it better. I think they tried to add some nuances to it to make it better, but then in reality, he wound up in his last few appearances on TV just going back to the whole savior of the masses thing, which could have worked too. Yeah. That could have worked.
I like that whole intellectual savior of the masses.
Yes,
because it's different. It's not been done before, as far as I know. But as far as the WWE's goes, I think that they cut the wrong guy with Sandow. I think that he had the potential to be entertaining in the WWE that it is now, that lacks that get over with the audience appeal that you're trying so hard with Roman Reigns, and just each and every week it seems to get worse and worse. And
they ruined Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
they absolutely have.
And now there's been talk, obviously, with the Bullet Club dominating professional wrestling, not just in WWE.
Can't say Bullet Club. That's an ROH.
I'm sorry.
The club.
Well, now it is the club, but I think they've gotten that trademark, and they've also had Bulletproof, and I think we're going to hear Bulletproof when Finn debuts, which is supposed to be this coming pay-per-view at Extreme Rules. I hope.
Finn Balor is the it factor.
He is the it factor, and I've been hearing rumors
that is not Bobby Roode. That is a Bobby Roode thing, but
and I'm hearing rumors that they're going to bring the Shield back together against the club. they would reunite Seth, Dean, and Roman, which is going to get Roman, I think, the only way you're going to
That
get
is the
Roman
way
here.
that you save Roman Reigns.
That's how you save him.
I think there's no doubt Roman's becoming a bad guy again. I don't think there's any doubt in that.
It's happening, and it's really, you don't really make heels organic. You've made faces organically with crowd reactions and how you portray your character, but I've never really seen a guy turn heel organically just because of how much hate there is with Roman Reigns and being that guy. He says it himself every week. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm the guy, which is totally a Vince McMahon-related promo that was given to him by him himself. So, I think it definitely adds to his heelish character. But have you been noticing, Danny? I haven't watched Raw live in 3 weeks.
I haven't either. I haven't watched Raw live.
I've been watching because I've been doing Game of Thrones on Monday nights. But with Raw, I've been noticing, though, that really,
I fast forward, I think, through a good hour of it.
I've been noticing, too, that, like, Anderson and Gallows have been getting booed. Like, they were supposed to be these, the guys bringing up from Japan. They were getting cheered when they first debuted, but now they're getting booed. And then Roman's getting booed. And then when they attack Roman, they get booed again. So it's like the fans don't understand, like, why are you booing guys that are attacking the guy that you hate? You're booing Anderson and Gallows for what? And I haven't heard AJ Styles get booed a little bit this past Monday night. I don't know if you watched it or not, but
I did watch it. I didn't pay that much close attention to that.
Oh.
So I didn't notice that Styles did get booed, but I believe it. Just some venues, certain guys are just booed more than others. It just depends on the city that WWE
Some
is
cities
at.
suck more than others. Obviously, I think it's argued, but I think the top 3 wrestling cities would probably be Chicago, Boston, and Detroit. Detroit always has, and I'm not being a homer here.
Detroit has great Monday Night Raw
and
when they come here.
the fact that they only have, you'll see them go to Chicago twice, maybe 3 times a year. All these bigger cities they'll go to more than once.
They go to the Barclays Center, it seems like every other month.
Well, now they're doing the Barclays Center. They're doing SummerSlam there, I think, now.
Yeah, they go there every month or every couple of weeks.
I get it. New York, the Garden's got, they're got good fans too, but Detroit is right up there, man. They are right up there with Chicago. The show we went to.
When that new stadium opens in Detroit, they'll be there a couple times a year too.
I think that's the thing too. I think the fact that out of the look where the Joe is at, and it's so old and outdated, I think WWE kind of cringes when they go to the Joe. I think
that they go to the Joe and you walk around that arena and
lucky you don't see it on TV. Really it's dark. You don't see the outside of the stadium or the arena, but they're going to definitely be doing a lot of aerial shots when that new Little Caesars Arena opens up. When they have their first show there, that's going to be definitely a lot of fan interest. So, but right now with Extreme Rules coming up and the rematch of Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles, do you think that because they're having a rematch so soon after the last one that AJ Styles might win the belt, or are they going to just run with Roman Reigns?
No, Roman Reigns is running.
I think no chance. Roman Reigns ain't going to lose till Seth Rollins comes back.
No chance. I think with Roman Reigns, to just troll the fans, they want to have him break CM Punk's record. I think it's going to happen.
Oh, goodness gracious.
What was it, Danny? Like 420 days or something?
427 days.
Yeah, something like that. I know he used to say it all the time, but...
Me?
No, Paul Heyman.
No, I didn't say
no,
that.
I
am a big CM Punk guy, but
he's going to get wrecked at UFC.
If he ever debuts.
Yeah.
But
he keeps getting hurt.
Went from May to now. I think it's supposed to be June now. I don't know when the hell it's supposed to happen.
Just come back to WWE and just
he will
let bygones be bygones.
It's not as bold of a statement as I think a lot of people would think it is, but if guys like Vince McMahon can make up with Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who left the company, he walked out very similar to what CM Punk did. He left for 2 months, and he came back. I really think that
CM Punk was a little bit more heated. I think
he was
and nasty.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was just like Stone Cold. It was creative. It wasn't about money like certain Ryback has been bitching about, which Ryback's a whole other story. But CM Punk, though, I think was more about the creative direction. He wasn't like how he was being used. He felt like he should have probably went over more at the last WrestleMania he was at. And I think he was also a team player. He felt bad for guys that weren't getting pushed, that should have been getting pushed. And just the overall direction of the company, I think, was really what burned CM Punk out. And
it did.
But I think if you give that guy probably another 2 or 3 years, I think we'll see him back in a ring again.
Bold prediction. I don't see it.
You don't think
the
so?
way that he is,
wow.
I just don't. Unless
never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever. He said.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. Maybe in a couple of years. It depends how things go, I guess.
I'm hoping so. The guy that I really want to see is Finn Balor. I think that he can be a difference maker with WWE and maybe make things better. WWE is so painful to watch right now. I don't even enjoy watching it every Monday night.
Well, they need Cena, Orton, and Rollins back to make the main event better. Cena's coming back on the 30th, and they said Orton and Rollins are going to be following in the next month or so after that.
Orton's injury was a very weird one that happened. He's had a lot of fluke injuries. Kind of like I call him the Joel Zumaya of WWE because he's right. I think also injured himself by taking the trash out or something like that. But Orton was supposed to be due back in time for WrestleMania, and he just had a really bad setback.
Sounds like a Dan Bartley injury.
Yeah, he had a really bad setback. Well, John Cena had a torn rotator cuff too.
Hey, those do suck.
But he had surgery, and the fact that he had surgery was supposed to take him out for even longer. And Super Cena, as he always does, comes back months ahead of schedule.
I didn't have surgery.
Got to give the guy credit.
Well, he came back way early. That's why he hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly.
He just made his appearance.
Well, Seth Rollins, I think, has been healed for some time now, but he's been filming that TV show or whatever. So I think he's going to be due back, I think, right around SummerSlam. So
that's tough because he tore his ACL, MCL, and his medical meniscus, so he had a pretty bad injury. I mean, he might be walking, but I don't know if he physically could go on the rink and do all that stuff.
Well, I've been hearing, too, that he's not going to be thrown into the main title picture when he comes back, which I don't see how you can't do that because he basically had to give up the title. He had to walk away.
Yeah, he never lost.
He never did lose it. And the
fact that lost a couple times, but he never lost.
And you know damn well he's going to get that Triple H 2002 MSG reaction. He's going to leave as a heel and come back as probably the most beloved guy in the company. And if you have him go over on Roman Reigns, oh, boy. You're going to be dealing with something. I mean, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think that there's a possibility if they're going to keep this whole club thing going on, especially with AJ and Anderson and Gallows. But then again, if you bring Finn Balor into it, it'd be 4-on-3 if you bring the Shield back. So
you boot Styles.
You got to boot Styles because I think Styles is more of a singles competitor himself. So,
but I would like to see Balor as a singles competitor.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like your epitome of like NWO versus DX again, So
something similar.
Very similar to that. But hey, I like this whole direction that they're going, where they don't have a strong antagonist authority figure on TV. They kind of they're splitting the duties between Stephanie and Shane, which is. They've been teasing, I think, a face turn with Stephanie lately, so that's always
face turn.
Yeah.
One more Tigers update before we close out the show here. One of you folks.
Scherzer had 15 strikeouts when I last looked.
You're kidding me.
No.
You're kidding me.
No, Steve just texted me.
Are you stroking
3-1 now, Nationals. Zimmerman gave up a solo shot. And, 15 strikeouts for Scherzer through 7 innings.
Does he have any walks?
3-pitch count, so he'll probably pitch another inning.
Does he have any walks?
Oh, my goodness.
No. 0 walks.
Oh, my God.
Fantasy points for me.
You got Scherzer?
Yes, I do.
That'll help you.
I'm going against Iwinky.
Well, I benched Verlander for this week, so just because I want to see how he does a couple more starts before I play him again, but we'll see what happens. So the old who does that? Is that a Terry Foster or Mike Valenti?
That's a Dan Bartley trait.
Yeah.
And
see if you can name this. This will be on video, so you better make yourself
Bryant
okay.
right here.
And he makes it.
3 points. The it factor of podcasting.
Well, it's not looking too good for the Tigers, but hell, I'm so depressed with them. I don't even want to stay on the line to see if they win or lose that game. I'm so fed up with them. So
I'm gonna watch the hockey game.
Yeah, time to go watch hockey. God Almighty! But
3-0 Blues.
Wow, that's crazy though, because it's not always good to have a 3-0 lead. We figured that out in the last 3 games because Dallas had a 3-0 lead last game, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins had a 3-0 lead and almost blew it. So
Kerry Lettinen, as I said earlier on the show, or if it. Now he's probably pulled. Now it's probably Nami. I'm not watching the game. I couldn't tell you. But the fact, Dallas needs a goaltender.
They do. And we talked about this a week or so ago about the whole Jimmy Howard moving thing and that Jimmy Howard would be a good fit in Dallas. But that's for another show. We'll talk about that when NHL free agency and trade talks start looming again. So I think we're going to call this one a podcast, guys. Chad, it's been awesome having you on the show. You're definitely welcome to come on anytime you want. We appreciate your insights.
Absolutely. Good line, Seg.
Very good. That definitely helped us.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I'll definitely be back on.
And stay tuned for that video. The recording, I'll have that recording posted later on tonight. The video will be up in a few days. So with that, I think, Danny, I didn't touch my water.
You didn't even touch the water.
No, I didn't. I'm shocked. I guess my throat didn't get as dry as I thought it would. So on behalf of myself and Danny and Chad, we're going to call this one a podcast. We're going to see you guys all next week.
Good night.